Hey there, I'm the MadCatster. Am I glad to see you here? Well, you thought you'd heard the last of the Amber Heard Johnny Depp courtroom drama. No, you haven't, because Amber Heard's on the warpath and she's going after her insurance company after they are refusing to pay out on a policy that Amber Heard had taken specifically to pay out the kind of damages Johnny Depp was awarded at trial. You know I'm a real lawyer. We're going to talk about it, so buckle up and let's go. Well, I'm here with Sybil the Enforcer, and she is in really good spirits. She's been following me around the house all day today because I've been working from home. She is acting like herself, and I'm happy to see her energy level up there. And I called her over here to help me do this, and she came right over because she's laying in a bed about 10 feet away from me. And she's waiting for her treats and then for us to go to bed. But anyway, so Sybil says she's keeping a list and checking it twice, and she wants to know who's naughty or nice. So if you don't want to be on the naughty list, please like and subscribe. We appreciate your support very much. And Sybil and I say thank you in advance. Anyways, let's talk about Amber Heard's war against her insurance company because they're refusing to pay out on a policy she had from them, which should cover the kind of damages that Johnny Depp was awarded. And I'm going to talk to you about why they think they have a loophole that lets them out of it. So let's talk about it. So I'm sure all of you remember back during June and the early part of the summer, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp were involved in the court case where back in 2018, Amber Heard had published an op-ed piece in the Washington Post saying that she was the recipient of DV and not naming the person that she was referring to, but it was clear from the writing that she was referring to her relationship with Johnny Depp and her marriage with Johnny Depp. So everyone basically could see that she was referring to Johnny Depp. And so Johnny Depp took offense, understandably so, at what Amber Heard said in the paper. He commenced a lawsuit against Amber Heard saying that the statements that she made were defamatory and seeking damages from Amber Heard because of the damage that her allegations had done to his career. Now, I'm not going to get back into all of the nitty-gritty of the trial, but Amber Heard also countersued Johnny Depp saying that statements that his attorneys had made about her and a friend trashing their apartment were false and defamed her. So in the end, the jury awarded Johnny Depp about $10.3 million in damages, and the judge had reduced the amount of damages the jury had awarded because of statutory caps put on the amount of damages. And so if you take out the $2 million that Johnny Depp was technically supposed to pay Amber Heard, that left him with an award of $8.3 million, thereabouts. Amber Heard, of course, now is expected to pay this, but she has appealed against the verdict. Johnny Depp has appealed against the $2 million verdict awarded to Amber Heard. But in the interim, the insurance companies that covered Amber Heard have gotten into the fray. And one policy that Amber Heard had was with Travelers Insurance, and that was a homeowner's policy, and homeowners policies do cover personal injury, and apparently this particular policy covered up to $500,000 of this kind of a claim. Amber Heard also had a $1 million policy which covered libel and defamation with New York Marine. Now, New York Marine had originally offered to provide counsel for Amber Heard, which insurance companies often do, and it's at no cost to the policyholder. And the reason they do this, of course, is because they want their policyholder to win so that the insurance company doesn't have to pay out any award of damages. Now, Travelers had also provided attorneys to defend against this case. So basically what happened is New York Marine is accusing Amber Heard of having refused to cooperate with the attorneys that they had provided, which led to those attorneys withdrawing from the case and only working with the attorneys that Travelers was providing. So Travelers policy covered up to $500,000 in this particular type of claim. Of course, Amber Heard put in a claim for that. Now, Travelers, interestingly, is suing New York Marine because they're saying that New York Marine should provide some contribution toward the cost of the legal fees that they paid out to defend in this instance. Now, New York Marine is saying no because she refused to use our attorneys. And we know that the attorneys that Amber Heard did cooperate with didn't appear to be the greatest, in my opinion, from a lot of the gaffes that we saw during the trial. So now what's happened is New York Marine is suing Amber Heard in federal court in California, saying that they shouldn't have to pay the claim. And their reason being because the California Insurance Code has a section called Section 533, and I'll put it up here, which states if the insured willfully causes the injury, then they don't have to pay. So the question is going to come down to, do we go by what the jury said, that she, with actual malice, made these statements and say, well, that's willful, and so the insurance company, according to California, is exempt? Or do we look at the language of the policy? And this is where there's a little bit of conflict. So this is what the New York Marine policy that they issued to Amber Heard states. And this is actually included in the pleadings filed by New York Marine. And it says, the policy defines personal injury to mean injury other than bodily injury arising out of one or more enumerated offenses included in the policy, which includes oral or written publication of material that slanders or libels a person or organization, including other forms of defamation. It doesn't define the intent of the party who's accused of the libel or defamation. According to the policy and the way it's written, it's pretty broad. The policy should cover, and I understand Amber Heard's argument, the policy should cover $1 million worth of the damages because that's what the policy says. It's very interesting because New York Marine is reaching to the California Insurance Code and saying, well, Section 533 says if it's willful conduct that caused the injury, we don't have to honor the claim. And the jury basically said it was willful. So there's a big clash here because the policy doesn't differentiate, and yet they're looking to California law to bail them out because, of course, the insurance company doesn't want to pay the $1 million claim, and they're going to do everything they can to avoid paying the $1 million claim. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. I mean, in my opinion, I think they should be forced to honor the policy because why would you write such a broadly defined policy to a person living in California if the insurance company who should know about this particular section of the California Insurance Code, and maybe that's the point, they're saying, we're going to write this policy, but we can get out of it because of this, which I think is kind of fraudulent and is also pretty unfair and deceptive. If you're leading your policyholder to think they're covered, but in essence, you know that you can point to this section of the California Insurance Code and they're not going to be, in my opinion, the policy should make it really clear whether the coverage is only if you didn't willfully cause the libel or defamation. And so, if she had been found to have been reckless, then they would have had to have covered it. So what do you guys think? I mean, I know this is a very complex issue, but I just think it's pretty shitty, to be honest with you, to sell her a policy leading her to believe that she's covered, only to then say, well, no, we're not going to pay it. Even though it says we're covering it, we're going to say, well, this section of the California Insurance Code says we don't have to pay it. I think that's pretty bad business practice, and I think that's should be a consumer legal claim against the insurance company for being deceptive in their business practices, because it is deception. You're deceiving her into thinking she's got this coverage when in the back of your mind, the insurance company, that if it actually happens and you're asked to pay out on a claim, you could just say, oh, no, because the California Insurance Code says you did it willfully and knowingly, so we're not going to cover it, because that's not what the policy says. So I just think it's really bad business. And even though I don't really like Amber Heard, and I certainly wasn't on her side during the trial, I kind of want to see her win this, because I really think the insurance companies sometimes are, in my opinion, are out to really screw people. And I know they've gotten tighter and tighter on the types of claims they're willing to pay out on. I just think that this is just really crappy business practice, to be honest with you. And as a lawyer, I find this kind of offensive and misleading. And so on the aspect of, I think the insurance company shouldn't be able to get away with this kind of deception, I think that Amber Heard should win, and I hope she does win this. Again, I'm not giving any kind of endorsement to Amber Heard or any support in terms of moral support to Amber Heard. I'm just looking at this from a legal standpoint and saying, I think the insurance company, it's pretty shitty for them to write this policy and then try to get out of paying on it because they're now pointing to California law, which they should be aware of and obviously are aware of. And so there should be some clarification in their policy, which makes it clear to their insured, because you live in California, if you willfully do something, we're not going to cover it. So it's not clear in this policy is my point. And so I find this to be deceptive. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd appreciate to hear it. We'll have to wait and see how this turns out. I'll keep you guys apprised, and when it's finally decided, I'll probably do something about it. But I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I want to thank all of our supporters, as always, all of our Patreon patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate all the channel members who support. We also greatly need and welcome. And those of you who have sent stuff from the Amazon wish list, as always, we love you guys. I don't have anybody to thank in this video, but if you'd like me to thank you in one of the upcoming videos, the link to my cat's Amazon wish list is down below. Only stuff for cats. It's nothing for me. If you want to send something, I will thank you in one of the upcoming videos. But I hope you guys, as I said in the last video, because we're still before Thanksgiving, I hope you guys have a safe, happy, and wonderful Thanksgiving with whoever you're spending it with. And I thank you guys so much for joining us. You guys take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.
Pretty please. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I get a treat for every new sub. Thank you.